St. Charles Patriot Radio with Missouri State Representative Richard West and former Francis Howell School Board member Jane Pushkar.
Good afternoon and welcome back to St. Charles Patriot Radio. I'm your host, Richard West. I have with me today Miss Jane Pushkar.
Hello.
Good to see you this week. So we have a good guest with us today.
We do?
He is the current sitting state representative for District 105, Mr. Colin Wellenkamp.
Hi. How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing
Jane,
well.
good to be here. I have
Glad to
from Jefferson Street in Old Town to the Page Extension, and then the Missouri River to Cave Springs.
Okay.
So that little trapezoid, and emphasize trap, it's a trap, is my district. It's an awesome district. I got the cool fun places like Streets of St. Charles, and I've got all of Lindenwood University.
Oh, wow.
And then all the neighborhoods in between and around.
Yeah. So, well, I've served with you for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's an honor to have you as a colleague. And,
on this end too. Learned a lot from you.
Well, I don't know that those were good things. But,
all good things.
I taught you all the bad things, right?
Yeah.
But no, really, it takes special people to go up to the state capitol, stand in front of 163 people or 162 people, and argue your points and either for or against, propositions and or proposed legislation. And you've done quite a bit of it. You've stood on the floor many times this year and given your opinion on things. You've carried a couple of bills. I think Senator Adam Schnelting has a bill that's on the ballot right now that you were involved in.
Yeah, I carried it on the House. Yeah.
We talked a little bit about it last week, and we'll touch on that a little bit. But so what do you think of the legislature so far? How's your take?
I ran to be in a position to help people and to pursue and protect the public interest. I really have a public service heart. My family has been dedicated to public service, both sides throughout my family, all military. My mother was a nurse for 42 years. My father was an equal rights advocate and a hospital administrator. So public service has been at the core of my upbringing forever. I saw this as a chance to really help people, bring something back to my community. I do that professionally for a lot of communities all over the world. So it was a good chance to put those skills to work here at home. And that's why I went there. And I think I've been lucky enough under the tutelage of people who know what they're doing, like yourself, and our leadership, like Alex and the speaker, and we have a great delegation in the county. Been able to get pretty far and get some things done. You'll know it frustrates the heck out of you sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
It's a process, but I'm new and learned an incredible amount and been able to do some really good things.
So this is your first term?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wow. That's exciting. And I must say, you come from good stock with your mom being a nurse. I mean, for 42 years, God bless her. I mean, what a challenge. So you come from a district where I understand there's a lot of diversity.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Would you like to explain some of that and how it challenges you as a representative? Because when you're elected, you're supposed to be representing everyone.
That's right.
You know that at times you really can't because you disagree on certain values or issues. And so it's real hard. And I admire somebody that would step up to run in that type of a district. But tell us a little bit about the diversity.
It is, you're right, Jane, it is very purple. It's been getting increasingly purple over time as just, natural demographic changes of the middle of the country flex and bow. And we have, I have in my district, one of the fastest growing Indian populations in the state of Missouri. A lot of them are coming from all over the world to work at Boeing and Raytheon and Bayer. And those three employers attract a lot of really great highly technical talent from all over the planet. And a lot of them settle in St. Charles City. It's kind of it's a convenient place to be if you work with those companies geographically. And it's also a good place to be in terms of affordability compared to, if you're going to go to a different part of St. Louis County or other places. St. Charles City is a great option. You get a lot for your money, and it's a great, safe city.
I was going to say, let's not forget to throw in safety and education, two big
ones,
ones, where people, which help people decide where they choose to lay their head.
Absolutely. Yeah. Our St. Charles City School District reached top 10 school districts last year. Great milestone. So, and we've got a great developments in the city, a lot more to offer than in the past. And it's a growing, booming city. Sure, it's got its problems like every city. But I think what I hear most is people feel comfortable and they feel safe to be out at any time.
Yeah.
And that's worth a lot.
Well, I know that, so when I was a mayor,
Mhm.
and I was involved in a lot of the St. Charles mayor's discussions, that St. Charles City itself is creating more and more things to do. The streets of St. Charles is a great place, a very diverse place,
Mhm.
lots of good eateries, but lots of good things to do. But I know that they were doing some development down across the riverfront there too. I don't know if that's continued to move or stalled because I'm no longer in those talks as mayor.
Mm.
But
It is moving.
it is moving.
Mhm.
Okay. So I do know that St. Charles City offers a whole lot for a whole lot of people.
It does.
My,
Yeah.
my daughter's got a house down there, and she just loves the neighborhood.
Mm.
She actually used to work for the city. She now works for St. Peter's. But
Ah.
so there's a lot of good things.
Yeah.
We're here talking with Colin Wellenkamp, the state representative from District 105. And Colin, I'd also like to know you're running for re-election, correct?
Yes.
In November.
Mhm.
What is the main message of your campaign? What is it that you would like the voters to know about you?
That
Besides the fact that your mom's a nurse.
yeah, that is critical, and that does get
And
a lot.
to me, it is.
Well, a lot of people. You're spot on. Does get a lot of smiles and a lot of thumbs up because nurses are just absolutely awesome. They are a backbone of our community, and I think what I bring to our city is a very diverse background that's particularly relevant today. So I'm an environmental scientist, an environmental lawyer. I was a congressional lawyer for, still am a congressional lawyer, and I'm an adjunct professor. And I teach macroeconomics and sustainable
all of that in
development.
one brain. I don't.
Right? I can't even spell any of
I
that.
know. I was going to ask what an environmental scientist what they do, and then I was going to ask what the environmental lawyer is. That what you said? So
Yes.
you're an attorney.
Not an attorney. I'm not barred, but I have a JD with a concentration in environmental law and an LLM in sustainable development law.
Okay. I'm still I'm speechless.
That's okay. Technical
Anyway,
differences in the
so
legal
those are some
community.
things you want
Yeah.
the voters to know. That's wonderful. But I interrupted. So continue.
While we're on that,
Yes.
let's just real quick touch about, because some of your legislation your first year in was helping St. Charles County with some environmental issues.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
real quick, let's just touch on that 30 seconds worth if you can.
Yeah. So we sustained quite millions of dollars worth of damage in 2025 from flooding, mostly flash flooding. So much that we even had a landslide right off near Highway 94 and Heritage. And we are a confluence city.
Yes.
So we have the Mississippi River borders the northern part of St. Charles, and of course the Missouri on the eastern side. That means that we have to handle a lot of water. In fact, we have the largest concentration of river microbasins in the state of Missouri is here in St. Charles because of that confluence of two largest rivers in North America coming together. So to help us with all that water and not putting ourselves in a position where we're continually losing homes and continually losing small businesses and other infrastructure to stormwater and other flash floods, I had three disaster mitigation bills, one for HOAs, to give them a low interest loan program to better manage naturally their creeks, basically use their creeks as stormwater flow containment and storage. Why build when nature provides and it saves you a lot of money and the maintenance costs are next to nothing and you get a natural asset?
Yeah.
Great. And then also did this with Senator Schnelting in partnership, and that is we expanded the eligibility of what you could spend neighborhood improvement districts, which is a program in the state, you as mayor, you may have used this, Rich, when you were mayor, a neighborhood improvement district designation to collect extra tax revenue for a project in that neighborhood. But up until last year, you couldn't use any of that money for disaster resilience or mitigation. Okay. Now you can.
All right.
We got that to the governor. And then finally was a parks expansion and connections bill where we take the sales tax that goes to our parks and we allow cities and counties, mayors and county executives to use a portion of that money to onboard risk into a park. But you have to do that through natural means only. You can't fill your parks with pumps and pipes and concrete lined catchment basins. It's all got to be natural. And you can expand the park, you can connect the park, and you can build a greenway or a blueway to connect the parks. And you can use the money to purchase repetitive loss properties that are just being flooded again and again.
Sure.
Fair market value. And the owner has to give you permission. So the owner has to be a willing seller.
Gotcha.
Just like everybody else. No one can come in and take anything. If the owner wants to sell it because they're tired of it getting destroyed every time it rains, they can.
So basically what these 3 bills did was kind of regulate how these things happen, but lessen the requirements and make it easier for all of that to happen. And see, the reason I wanted you to talk about this is because probably the people in St. Charles County who may be voting for you probably don't have a clue that you did these things because they're not the big fanfare. They're not big headlines. You're not going to see it on the front page of the Post-Dispatch. Representative Colin Wellenkamp did this for St. Charles County. These are the kinds of things that we do every day in Jefferson City to help the people of our districts, our counties, and our states, and that don't bring out a lot of the fanfare. So, I mean, that was in your first year, right?
First year.
Yeah. That was in your first year, not even his second year, in his first year. And he helped the city out. I know it was crazy help for them. And I know that for St. Charles County, the county government as well, they were very pleased to have that done. So, huge things that are being done. You were hired by the people to go up there and do that, and you did it for them. So I just, that really needed to come out.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really like the disaster mitigation bill that you passed, because it only makes sense that if there's money available, it should be available for disaster mitigation. And I know that there's been problems in the heritage subdivision.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that we need to get that message out to those people because they have been waiting for a very long time. So kudos to you for passing that.
Well, thank you. I had a lot of help. Rich helped me.
Oh yeah, here we go.
He did. He helped me because I didn't, I was new, and he took me through the process.
No, and that's all part of the growing and experience, and pass it on and help the next person.
I just think, I really, really think people need to know that these are the kinds of things that are being done that then again, that don't get the fanfare. So, and you're not looking for it.
No,
but it does need to be mentioned because you are seeking re-election.
Yep.
And I think it's very important that, because I know you, Colin, I think I know you pretty good now from the bills that you brought forward. You're really trying to help the people of your district out and city or county of St. Charles.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Colin, what do you have plans for the future? What kind of bills, or you got anything in mind that you think you might want to bring forward?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It's funny you say the word future because you're
going to be reelected.
I'm chair of the Future Caucus, which is a new body, and it's only 18 months old. And it is a caucus of legislators that works to attack and intake persistent technical issues facing the state that could be ripe for legislation, like AI. And
that's a whole nother
That's
segment.
a whole other story. But we did out of the Future Caucus's work, we did come up with a data center bill to protect our grid capacity and our water resources, as well as make sure that increased utility rates were not passed on to Missourians. That if you want to come in, you want to build something, AI infrastructure, you got to pay for it.
Oh,
you shouldn't have to pass that. You should not be able to pass that on to Missourians. And we're going to continue to work on that. That's a big policy a proposal for the state. It's going to take a minute, but I'm committed to that work. And I think the Future Caucus is as well, because that issue is not going away.
I think that's a real winner right there, because I know people are tired of being taxed to death and being paid for things that these corporations should be paying for. So 100%. Colin, in the short time that we have left, could you please tell everybody where they can reach you? The easiest way?
Absolutely. So Colin at Colin, FORMO, colin.com. It goes to me.
Is it COL or COLL?
It's a good question. COL.
Okay.
And yeah. I'm the 1L version of it. And
Colin for Missouri.
Yep, colinformissouri.com. That's me. It goes right to me. I handle and man that. And we're very excited about the future and what could be.
Colin, thank you so much for being here with us today. We really appreciate it. We look forward to speaking to you again. And please, we'll be right back with another segment. And if you wouldn't mind, hit that like button and the subscribe button. We'll see you in a minute.
St. Charles Patriot Radio with Missouri State Representative Richard West and former Francis Howell School Board member Jane Pushkar.
Well, thanks for coming back to St. Charles Patriot Radio. I'm your host, Missouri State Representative Richard West, and I have with me my co-host.
Jane Pushkar. Bam! We're back.
I even had to coach her on that.
The one, the only Jane Pushkar.
That's right. There is
anyway, we're here today with sitting state representative Travis Wilson from District 106. Travis has been in for 4 years now.
That's correct.
So yeah, he's going into his junior year. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that already.
They grow so fast.
Yeah, I know.
It's good to be with you guys. Thanks for the opportunity. It's great to be with both of you. And it's such a wonderful time here in the St. Louis area. It's about 84 degrees outside right now. Nice breeze blowing.
Well, you remember, this is taped and it's going to play on Sunday, so it could be raining on Sunday.
That's true. But, what I always like to tell you is that the sun always shines in St. Charles.
St. Peter's.
She says St. Peter's. It's St. Charles.
Yeah.
St. Charles.
How about New Melly?
New Melly's nice.
Yes,
New Melly's nice,
yes.
but I mean,
it's another country.
It's true. It's true. And St. Charles is Missouri's first state capital.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, I knew that.
Absolutely. You did.
So, Travis, just tell us the boundaries of your district.
So my district is the best district in all of Missouri. I know not everyone agrees, but that's okay. Everybody has the right to their own opinion.
Fact is fact.
But I would tell people that St. Charles is wonderful. My district is the northern half of the city of St. Charles. So that means that it includes the north half of Main Street, Frenchtown, Newtown, goes along 370, and I have the Foxborough subdivision and also the Covington subdivision. That's right across from Grace Baptist. And then it comes right back along 70, goes right behind Lindenwood. And that's basically it. It's the northern half of the city of St. Charles.
So I guess of course, we had Colin in here just a minute ago, Colin Wellenkamp.
Yes, sir.
You border Colin.
I do.
Do you border Wendy as well? Does Wendy?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. So Wendy is on my north side, and Colin's on the south side. So he has the south half of St. Charles. I have the north half. I have the better half. And seeing how he's not here to dispute that, then we know it's true.
Well, so we have Travis in today. We're going to talk a little bit about your time in the Missouri House.
Yes, sir.
You've got 4 years under your belt now. You came in 4 years ago. So in those 4 years, don't tell us what you've done yet, but what's your take on it? How do you feel about it? And how do you feel about your time in the House?
Well, I can tell you I have more gray hair than I used to. That's definitely
welcome to the club, brother.
Yes. I'm just happy to have my hair. So that is important. But no, it's been a learning experience. And so to that end, I've started telling people whenever they make a remark, I say, well, you had a win for every gray hair that you achieved. And they're like, yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah,
Thanks a lot. But seriously, it's a learning curve, and it's an interesting place to go to work each day. Working in the Capitol, I tell people that every day is an opportunity for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It really, truly is. And there are some amazing things that we are able to work on. There are some lousy things that also happen. And so much like in any other job, you have to learn how to work with your coworkers. And in our situation, our coworkers are very much of a different political persuasion sometimes. And so we have to learn how to work with people to get things done, because at the end of the day, you may think that one issue is important and the other people that you're working with might think another issue is important. If you're not able to get past whatever differences you have about those issues, you're not able to actually serve your constituents. And that's something that's incredibly important to me. In the city of St. Charles, we have all different types of people that believe all different types of things. And what I have to do as their representative is take those those views back to the Capitol and figure out a way to make sure that we're talking about what's important to them. Things like tourism, things like making sure that parents are more involved in their children's education, things like making sure that we have the ability to continue to enjoy our Second Amendment rights, our religious freedom, things of that nature. It's incredibly important.
You know, Travis, representing the good people of St. Charles and are the good people of Missouri it's a huge responsibility. It looks like you're up to the challenge. Are there any bills or any legislation, any issues that particularly stand out from the last legislative session, and are any new things that you think you want to attack in the upcoming year?
Absolutely. So one that I'm particularly proud of, I was one of 12 different legislators. There were about 8 of us in the House and 4 in the Senate that filed legislation that had to do with the abusive litigation lawsuits that a lot of business owners were encountering. And so just to recap everybody how this works, you might own a business, say you own a coffee shop on Main Street, and your website is up just like any other website. And this particular shall we just call it was a shakedown. This attorney that was doing this behavior would contact you and say, hey, your ADA website is not up to snuff. They'd contact you on a Monday, and that would be what you would be informed of. On Tuesday, you'd be informed of a lawsuit that had been filed based upon the fact that you hadn't updated your website in that time frame. And so the lawsuit was, I'm just using round numbers, but let's say the lawsuit would be for $100,000. And it would say, but if you'll settle in 30 days for $5,000, we can make this go away. Well, here's the issue. Business owners are busy people. You know this, Rich, because you're a business owner.
Absolutely.
And so business owners are very busy people. And so what they might say is, well, I've got, 25 grand in the bank. If I just give this person 5 grand, this goes away. Problem is, they would go ahead and do that, and then they would start to try to mitigate that and make changes to their website. And literally within the same 30 or 45 day time period, they get hit again. Now, exactly. And here's how they were doing it. You might be the first litigant. And so Jane over here is the first litigant, but then that attorney would also represent Rich, and that'd be the second lawsuit. So now it's $10,000. And where does it end? And so they're literally holding business owners for ransom. And so what we did was we were able to file legislation to stop that, make sure that any sort of lawsuits were filed in good faith. The bill that actually got across the finish line in this scenario was Senate Bill 907, carried by Brad Hudson. And so he's from the southwest part of the state.
That sounds so questionable. I'm surprised that no bar action was taken against these lawyers that were doing this.
Well, I mean,
or was it an
were they violating
organization?
the law?
That's the issue.
So if you're not violating the law, I doubt the bar is going to do anything about it. So we unfortunately had to create regulation and legislation to address the issue.
It's true.
Now, if it happens, there's, typically when you violate legislation like that, then it would become to a bar issue and things
Correct.
like that.
Sure.
There's a lot of that, a lot of different things. And I'm glad you spoke on this, because part of my question was going to be, what have you done for the people of St. Charles County? What have you done, that is pertinent to you that your voters may not even know about? I mean, I don't think that this was a big deal. I didn't see any headlines across the Post-Dispatch about Travis Wilson is a part of this group doing this, protecting small business owners. Right. What else have you done in that arena? So, to help your businesses and our people in St. Charles County?
Well, as you know, St. Charles, the city of St. Charles, is really a tourism hotspot here in the St. Louis region, and it's something that we desperately want to continue to attract people to. And so there are 2 different things that I've done that specifically help historic St. Charles. The first being, I'm on the tourism committee, and I very much enjoy being on the tourism committee because I get to talk about places like St. Charles, and we get to see great legislation and do things. And we also, as a committee, as we were talking about the budget this past year, which it's a tight budget year, it's a tight budget time, I get the fact that there is an inclination to make sure we're being very careful with tax dollars. So I completely understand that. But one of the things that I advocated for, and several other members of the tourism committee advocated for, was making sure that we did not cut the tourism aspect of our state's budget. And that's critical because we need to make sure that Missouri continues to keep its numbers. A lot of people don't realize this, but annually, 53 million people visit the state of Missouri. 53 million
Do you
people.
know what the average year-to-year cost that comes into the state of Missouri dollar-wise?
I'm hoping you might know it.
$21 billion.
Hello. Say it
Wow.
again, Rich.
$21 billion.
Billion with a B. And
Yeah.
so that is incredibly important. And that includes great places throughout Missouri, not just St. Charles, but there's the Lake of the Ozarks, there's Kansas City, there's St. Louis, there's Springfield, there's Branson, there's places like St. Joseph, and so many great places, St. Genevieve, Cape Girardeau.
What about Augusta, Missouri?
Oh, see, I knew he was going to bring it up.
Defiance.
Absolutely.
Defiance.
Absolutely. You're going
Defiance
to start talking about God's country here in a minute.
Yeah.
I can tell.
You just did it for me. Thank you.
There you go. There you go. But it's true. And I want to make sure that all of St. Charles County is and the St. Louis region is capitalizing on that great potential we have for bringing people. And so I was happy to advocate for that in the budget. And just a side note, since we're talking about the budget, one other thing that was incredibly important has to do with the fact that we made sure that our most vulnerable Missourians, those that were dealing with disabilities, we made sure that they had the budget dollars that they needed. There was a proposed budget cut, and it was a pretty significant budget cut that was proposed to go through. And so we were able to step in and talk to our budget committee colleagues. And to their credit, they were very amenable to working on this. I don't think that I went to any person on the budget committee and said, this is a concern, and received pushback that was, critical or unkind. I think it was just a matter of how can we have to solve the puzzle, because the budget's a puzzle and you have to solve it.
Yeah. So, what happened was every department said, hey, you've got to cut X, right?
Mhm.
Well, that particular department decided they were going to cut X from one program and not spread it out. And I think some of that was changed in the budget because when the budget folks at the end of the day have their final product, I think they spread that cost out a little bit. It's going to be tough again this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how we deal with the budget this year. It's going to be tight.
It is.
But I agree with you. It was your help. There was a lot of help across the whole legislature that really understood
100%.
the need for this. But we're going to. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight again this year.
It is. And that's probably what I would tell people, moving forward. If you feel strongly about a particular budget issue, this is a partnership. When I knock on people's doors, when I'm out having conversations, I, of course, say, yes, I'm asking for you to allow me to be your representative and go back to our state capitol. But this is a partnership. And so this is not just a one-time conversation. Here's my personal phone number. And I always make sure that people have my personal phone number. I'll be happy to share it right now, 314-540-1965. I want people to talk to me. They can also catch me on Facebook, Wilson for St. Charles, or you can just give me an email. You can email my personal email, TRAVWILS and don't laugh, this is old, sbcglobal.net. Had it for over 20 years. So travwills at sbcglobal.net.
I've got an MSN.
Oh, see? Okay.
You boys need to try to keep up.
I know. I cherish that. I fought to keep that email address
should.
for a long time.
Yeah, because
You
once you
should.
get that
You should.
started, it's hard to quit.
But I always tell
Yeah, but-
people, we want to stay engaged. We want to be talking. If you're going to be an elected official, you need to be available to people. And that's something that I've always tried so hard to make sure that people understood how to reach me. And I tell people, I stay up late. So if you want to talk at, 11, 12, 1 in the morning, that's fine. I'm happy to receive that call and have that conversation. We might even have a better conversation because there's less distractions at that point.
Wow. Well, Travis, I thank you for all that information. I got a question just in the couple minutes we have left. What are you looking for targeting for legislation for next year?
So next year, I think it's very safe to say that flock cameras are definitely on everybody's mind. That's a concern, and rightfully so. We've seen recently how the suggested idea that they could be misused actually came to fruition. And
Quickly, too.
Yes, very, very quickly, I might add. That's exactly right, Jane. And so what I think is important is we need to examine how we can, yes, be supportive of law enforcement, but also we need to respect our constituents. We need to respect their privacy. We need to respect their ability to lead their lives without the thought that Big Brother or George Orwell 1984 type behavior is happening around them. And so I definitely think that's going to be a big deal. I'm looking forward to working on that and seeing what we can do to help sort of mitigate that risk of the risk to privacy while also being supportive to law enforcement.
Right.
So just a question. Do you have an expectation of privacy in a public place?
I think that there's a difference between privacy in a public place and an unwarranted search.
Okay. So once you're elected, we're going to come back and we're going to tackle this, because Jane and I are going to talk about this here in a little bit when we come back from break.
I thought you might. I was reading the room.
Thank you for all the information that you've given us, and we look forward to speaking to you again sometime shortly after the election.
Thank you both so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Travis, on your way out, it's been an honor serving with you. I'm looking forward to 2 more years, because that's all I have left. I'll be heading out to the pasture after that.
We'll be right back.
Thank you.
No.
St. Charles Patriot Radio with Missouri State Representative Richard West and former Francis Howell School Board member Jane Pushkar.
Bam, we're back. This is Jane Pushkar. I'm here with Richard West, my co-host, and we're going to thank you for tuning back in with us. We're looking forward to speaking with all of you, but I understand, Richard, that there's something you want to discuss.
Well, there is, but before we get to that, I just want to let folks know we're going to take one of our segments every week, and we're going to talk about things that are important to St. Charles Countyans, and maybe just between you and I, maybe we'll agree, maybe we disagree, but I think there's a lot of things that are happening in St. Charles County, good, bad, and indifferent, that people need to talk about and people need to hear about. Not only my opinion, but your opinion. And, hey, if you want to be on our show, give us a call, because we'd love to have you come in and spend 15 minutes and we can have a talk with the three of us about any of these issues we're talking about, because they are important. And don't be afraid, just give us a call.
I welcome the opportunity, Richard. I don't think with all the election season and things going on, we just haven't had time to really go over anything.
Yeah, we've had a lot
stuff
going on this election season, but one of the big hot topics, so in the past 6 months, has been data centers. We're not going to talk about those today, though. But the biggest hot topic, I think you and I probably broke this first, maybe a month and a half ago, are the flock cameras.
Oh,
there's a lot going on with flock cameras, and of course, for those of you that don't know, St. Charles County just dealt with an employee who was improperly using the flock cameras for their own personal use, and I think there was probably maybe one, if not two, people that have been that the county is dealing with over the issue. Which brings to point a lot of what you've heard over the last couple of weeks. And what do we do with the flock cameras?
There's been a lot of flack about the flock.
A lot of flack about the
flock. A lot of flack. And the interesting thing is that it happened so quickly. I would have thought that someone, whoever that perpetrator was, would have waited, knowing that this was a hot topic. If you're going to misuse government property, then you would.
I'm going to.
Or they just wouldn't have done it.
Throw you one even better.
Okay.
I'm going to say that this has happened many times before.
Right.
And it's been dealt with on a quiet basis. Maybe that employee would have been released or reprimanded or whatever.
Right.
I doubt very seriously that anybody has done this and gotten away with it scot-free. But when they get caught, I do believe the departments or the entities that are in charge have probably dealt with it. But this one here made it out because it is such a hot topic, and now we are talking about it.
And I commend the St. Charles Police Department for addressing it and taking action on it immediately, and for also letting everyone know what happened.
Yeah.
Kudos to them, because I'm sure not every police department would have handled it that way.
You do have to give them credit, because knowing that it's a hot topic and knowing that they're now going to be at the center of that discussion, they really easily could have dealt with this issue and skated on by and say, well, we reprimanded the employee, we fired them, whatever they're going to do. We've done that, but we decided not to make it public. But they did. So, and I think they did it for a reason. I think they did it because the discussion needs to be had, and they need clarity. And where do you get that clarity from? Is you can have departmental policies and procedures. Okay, those are usually not as punitive as, say, a city ordinance, a county ordinance, or better yet, a state RSMO, revised Missouri state statute. So I think this is a reach out from law enforcement or a reach out from government to say, look, we need better guidance on these things. We need them because they're good tools. and we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
We need these because they're good tools, but we need guidance, strict guidance on how we're to use them, when we can use them. They want somebody else to make the rules.
Right. Richard, it's interesting that the use of these was voted in unanimously by the county council. And my comment to a couple of the council members was that, hey, wait a minute, we already did away with these red light cameras, which I know is a different entity, but it's still surveillance. And so there were a few back and forth about that. And as you know, at one point I was for the flock cameras, and then did a little bit more reading and understanding what they really did and what they didn't do. And I became against them. And I have been, since this incident, I am firmly against flock cameras. Now, the biggest pushback that I've gotten personally, either on Facebook or, neighbors, whatever, it's that, well, are you opposed to a ring light camera because they're everywhere? There's a big difference between a ring light camera. It's apples and oranges, because a ring light camera, because it's not law enforcement, number one, it's for the protection of your domicile, number two, and number three, that's not, you pay to have that area around your house protected.
Okay.
It's not that you have a law enforcement officer or whoever that can come in and abuse that.
No, but what can happen is a law enforcement officer can come to your house, knock on your door and say, hey, I need to see your ring, or can I please see your ring camera? This is the way I would approach it.
Right.
Can I see your ring camera footage from last night? We had we had a homicide across the street in the middle of the street.
And the person living in that house has the right to say no, unless they have a warrant.
Well, absolutely.
So,
and that was going to be what I was going to say, is they
Okay.
can come with a warrant and require that. Now the homeowner can say, well, I've erased it since then. But those are issues you deal with. And honestly, if you had a homicide in the middle of your street and you live in St. Charles County, you want it solved. You don't want that on your
True.
street, right?
True.
So you would probably turn it over.
True.
So now let me talk about this a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
We're here talking with Richard and Jane. Fun with
public grounds.
Fun with Dick and Jane.
Yeah. I think you just got a new motto for the show.
Sorry.
No, really. I'm laughing at that hard. Really, though, public, you have no expectation of privacy in a public area.
Okay.
Our Supreme Court has said that pretty much. As a matter of fact, our laws for search and seizure, our Fourth Amendment, has been watered down. So if I'm a police officer on a public street and I pull your car over, it's easier for me to gain access to your vehicle.
Okay.
If I have a reasonable suspicion that a crime is committed, I can have access to your vehicle without a warrant. Now, I have to be able to provide that very well. Okay? Just because you're in a public place, and I'm not going to say you could just go in and snatch up people's stuff from their car. But if I have reason to believe that you're in the car and you just committed a robbery, and I have very good evidence to that, the law tends to be a little bit easier on a police officer to pull somebody out of the car, investigate if they're involved in the robbery, and to search the vehicle.
Okay.
You've got to be really specific on that.
Right.
Okay. We were taught this in our constitutional rights while we were in the police academy. That's because you're in a mobile environment, you're in a public environment, and right, wrong, or indifferent, you can agree with the Supreme Court hearing, but the law allows for that. So
Okay. How does that relate?
That relates to, if I'm a private entity and I put up on public land, I would have to get permission from the police department or the city or wherever, and I put up a camera and I'm monitoring everything that goes on there. Okay. I'm a private entity with private caps. All that stuff is privately captured by me.
Mhm.
Okay. If the city wants to gain access to that, there's usually typically I have to make it clear, I'm not advocating for these. I'm just saying we have to look at the nuances of what's going on. I'm going to speak up a little faster here so we can get our thoughts in. If I'm a city and I say, okay, I'll grant you that little spot of space in exchange for the data you collect, how is that a violation of your Fourth Amendment?
Well, you're asking for information when you're not suspecting a problem, an
But-
incident,
so-
breaking the law.
As a private citizen, I can stand on the corner of Highway N and Highway
Right.
Z, and I can film that all day. And then I can turn around to the government and say, okay, Mr. County Executive, I will sell you all the data that I collected from my camera, and you pay me $30 a day to stand there and do that.
Why would you do that?
Maybe you want to make $30 a day,
Why would?
but it wouldn't be against the law is what I'm saying. It's not
okay,
against the Fourth
okay.
Amendment.
All right.
Okay? That's what these cameras are doing. So I don't believe that. Do I want it? No, I don't want the information on our phones. We give away more information on our phones, 100 times more information.
Okay, wait a minute. So you're saying that a person can sell this information, but then you refer to a corporation doing the same thing. It's not the same.
Sure it is.
No,
A private corporation, a private person.
a private person is not licensed, doesn't have to incorporate, doesn't have to file monthly reports.
Well, I can guarantee you, if you're selling the information to the county's probably going to come to you and say, you know what, you need to get a business license to do that. You're making money off of it.
Okay. But,
So,
okay. All right. Minor detail.
My point is, I don't see it as a violation of the Fourth Amendment. So using that as an excuse to say we can't do that, that's wrong. Okay, let's get off of that. They're violating our Fourth Amendment rights because we're not going to win that argument.
Oh, okay.
So you see where I'm getting at here?
Yes.
I'm
Now
not saying
do.
I want it to happen.
Yes.
I'm just saying this is not going to work.
Right.
They're
I
gonna-
didn't understand.
We're
where
going
you
to
were
waste a whole
headed.
bunch of money, go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's going to say, nah. The difference between this and a red light camera is we were issuing summonses.
Mhm.
We were actually finding somebody guilty of a crime based on the camera
Right.
and using that camera as the prima facie evidence for the crime.
So, what argument do you suggest that we have against these cameras?
So look, we paint all the cameras bright orange or bright yellow. So everybody knows where they're at. We post the county, the city, wherever. They should all be posted where they're at. If you don't want to be filmed, don't go that way. Find a different way to go.
Oh, you have to go that way because you got to go to the grocery
Well,
store.
then,
You got
you know
to
what?
take your kids to school.
You know it's there. You know it's there. There's no excuse. Okay. Number two, on the back end, the use of these things. First of all, we strongly regulate how they can be used. Now, we could go into hours of how that should be, but basically, the footage should be only used in the immediate commission of a crime and allow them to hold the recordings for up to 30 days. And if you believe a crime was committed, you have to get a warrant to access anything after, say, 24 hours.
Well, I would think the police would have to get a warrant to access anything.
Not if they're buying the information from the
That's the problem.
okay. That's see,
yeah.
we're getting
Yeah.
so now I'm saying we don't necessarily need to get rid of these, but we need to highly regulate them. And then here's the kicker that nobody wants to talk about. On the back end, when somebody violates those regulations,
Mhm.
you make it a stiff penalty. Even a police officer or a police department, you make it a felony. Because I'll tell you what, you make it a felony, ain't nobody in law enforcement going to touch that without a warrant.
You know, Richard, that's a great idea, and I agree with you. However, in the practicality of enforcing regulations, you know what happens. It ends up being a big mass of red tape. The attorneys get involved. They argue this, they argue that, and nothing ever comes of it. If you could accomplish what you're saying, these truly, taking care of these regulations and enforcing them and making the penalty stiff. Oh yeah, that's a big difference. But I don't have a real fond opinion of regulations.
Well, we at some time, and this is where we're going to have to disagree because I'm kind of in government just a tad bit more, is at some time we as a populace have to start trusting our government a little bit. Just even a little bit. We have so much distrust of our government. We just put forth initiatives on the ballot that would help the people of this state out so much, and nobody wanted to listen because most of the pushback was we distrust our government on everything.
And I couldn't agree with you more.
And there's people like me that, believe me, I don't want to violate your rights. I don't want to tax you. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to do absolutely 100% the opposite.
And speaking of gaining trust, that's part of that responsibility lies on people in the government to do that, to be transparent, to be honest, to be forthright, to be quick and efficient in getting information out there. And in light of that, I just like to remind everybody that on October the 1st, the St. Charles GOP is having a rally to bring the party back together, because there's been some divide, as you know. I mean, we're sitting here arguing about the flack on flock cameras.
Flack on flock.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Dick and Jane, though, flack on flock.
I hope that you will be able to attend at Old Hickory Golf Course on October the 1st. Doors open, I think, at 5:30. Event starts at 6. We're going to have a big array of speakers.
Yes.
Some that we can announce those later, but I believe that Steve Ellman has been, and some others have been confirmed that they're going to be speaking. Please put that on your calendar and plan to attend. And
I just want to say to everybody, no matter where you're at, if you're in the Republican Party, I can guarantee you we are all trying to get to the same end.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
Yeah,
Some of us have to work different ways to get there. So come to this event.
The issue is we agree on the end result. We just don't agree on how to get there.
And
that's where the biggest arguments are.
On a last note before we head out here, I say look back 20 years when the Democrat Party was in charge.
Right.
How did they splinter and fall apart? How did we gain a foothold? They splintered themselves and we walked right in. And I'll tell you, it's going to happen to us, and it's already starting to.
Thank you all for listening to St. Charles Patriot Radio. We hope that this has been a good experience for you. And please hit that like and subscribe button, and we will be back next week. Have a great week.